Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from AnthonyMorganti.com. Welcome to Mastering Aurora HDR 2018. Welcome to Lesson 3 of Mastering Aurora HDR 2018. In this lesson, we're going to learn about layers and we're going to work with presets. And to do that in this lesson, we're going to be working with this bracketed set of 5 images taken at St. Joseph's Cathedral in Buffalo, New York. Now, I bracketed the images all one stop apart. The image you're looking at now is what my camera deemed to be properly exposed. Then I have one that is one stop under, another one that is 2 stops under, and similarly on the other side we have one that is 1 stop overexposed and another one that is 2 stops overexposed. Now, typically, I probably wouldn't use this one in my bracket. It's really bright. I don't think that it's really anything very dark in the image that isn't there already in this properly exposed image. But I think for the sake of argument and just to show you that you could do it, I'm going to send all 5 of these over into Aurora HDR. So I'm going to close down that and we're going to open up Aurora HDR and I'm going to click on Open Image. And I'm going to take, as I mentioned, all 5 of these images. So I'm going to click on one. I'm going to hold the Shift key down and click on the one at the far end. So I have all 5 selected. And we're going to click Open. And it will open them up like this. And now we have these choices. Now, I did hand hold this. You can see it's pretty crooked. So I'm going to click Alignment because it is handheld. I did not use a tripod. Now, there's nothing moving in there. But I think I'm just going to do ghost reduction just in case I move the camera, made it look like something was moved, just micro adjustment. It doesn't hurt, as I mentioned, to click these boxes. I'm going to use the default center image there as the reference image, and medium will be fine. And I'm not going to worry about any chromatic aberration. And I'm going to click Create HDR. Now, of course, Aurora HDR will now take all 5 of those images and it's going to scrunch them all up into one single HDR image that will be minimally processed. And there it is. It just popped in and we have our presets popping out along the bottom. Now, I mentioned we're going to talk a little bit about presets. I mentioned in the first lesson that Aurora HDR comes with many preset packages already in it, and we went over all of them then. You can add your own or create your own. Now, I do sell a preset package, and there'll be information about that package if you're watching this video on YouTube or on my website below. Just click on the link, and you'll get information on how you could purchase my pack of 50 presets. And if you buy my pack or you download any pack from anywhere, from anyone, you have to get them inside of Aurora HDR. Super easy to do. To do that, go up here to the top File menu. And down here you could see Add Custom Presets Pack. Click on that. And when you click on that, Finder, in the case of Mac users, will open up. If you have Windows computer, of course, Windows File Explorer will open up, and click on the preset pack. It has the suffix MAU pack. And there's mine. If you purchased it, that's what you would download, and you just click on Open. And it opens immediately. You can see it's successfully added. Just click OK. And down here, you'll get populated with the presets. And as I mentioned, there's 50 in mine. And I have, looks like about 7 or 8 black and white presets, and then all the rest are color. Now you could come through and you could just click on one and see if you like the effect. Click through, keep going. Now there's a specific one that I kind of wanted to use, if I could remember the name of it. I think it was called Perfect Day. There it is, right there. Although I like this one. What one is this? This is Day at the Beach. That one's actually pretty nice. Let's go to Perfect Day. Perfect Day is actually one of my favorites. I think I actually like Day at the Beach better. So we're going to go to Day at the Beach. And let's say you really like this preset and you use it all the time and you want to make it a favorite preset. The good thing about favorite presets, you might have a favorite preset in basic, 2 in landscape, maybe 1 in architecture, maybe 2 of Trey's you like, 3 of Serge's you really like. Captain Kimmo, you have a few of his you like. So you want to make them favorites so you don't have to go searching for them throughout all these different packages. To make it favored or favorite is very easy. You see this little star right here? Just click on that star. And now that is one of my favorite presets. So if I go over here to categories again and I go to favorite, there it is. And you'll have all your favorites lined up for you. So it's really a nice feature to use. That way you don't have to go searching through all the different packages for your favorite presets. Now I mentioned I like this. Now if it's a little too strong for you, you could fade it out with this amount slider right here. So you could bring it down and kind of have it fade out a little bit and merge with our before image, which is right there. So you could do that if you want. The other thing now, if you want to remove it from favorites, just click on that little star again, and it will be removed from your favorites, so it won't be there. So far, so good. So I kind of like this. Usually what I use presets for is a starting point. I use it and I go, well, I kind of like that, but there's a couple little things I want to change. So that's what we're going to do with this one. Now, first of all, the image is crooked. I better straighten it. So I'm going to open up the crop tool, and to straighten it the way I prefer to do it, I don't like to use that slider up here. I like to just come off the image over here, click with the left mouse button, and when I start to move, that grid appears as I hold that left mouse button in and drag the mouse. And you can see that grid really helps me kind of line up, make it straight. And there's a lot of horizontal lines here. I have the step here. I have these lines in the tile here. I have lines here. So when I come out, I could just try to make it as straight as possible. And that looks decent right there. Next, make sure this padlock is locked. Well, it's up to you. I personally like that padlock to be locked because I like to keep my original 2:3 ratio that I used, or that my camera uses. I use shoot Nikon with this. I also shoot Fuji, and both those camera systems are 2:3 ratioed sensors. And I like to keep that ratio. So I want to make this kind of like right in the center here. So all this is right in the center. And you can see it's off just a little. So I'm just going to I could grab right over here. And I'm just going to push it in. And so it's keeping my 2:3 proportions and making it kind of centered. It still seems to be a little crooked. It's so difficult. Okay, let's go with that. And when we're done with our crop, click right here, done. Now, it seems like it's leaning a little bit too far that way. I'm not going to get too crazy about it for this, this video, but it does kind of bother me a little. So let's just do that a little bit. And let's just, for the sake of argument, say that that is perfect, even though it's still a little bit off. All right, so we have our image cropped. We picked a preset. Now, okay. When I entered this church, the first thing that kind of struck me is how white the walls are. And as you look at it, you can see that the walls really aren't super white. A little bit too warm, particularly over here on the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the white balance. I'm going to take this temperature slider, and I'm just going to move it to the left just to get those walls a little bit whiter, because that really, what struck me was the church was really white, blue, and a lot of gold beside the pews, just the windows and a lot of gold. And a lot of white, so I want that. Also, I like images like this to be highly detailed. So I'm going to go down here to HDR Structure, and I'm just going to push that up a little bit. And I don't want it like that, I don't want that. I just want to add some detail. We can move softness around a little bit. See if we could try to tease out a little more detail in the image. Maybe push up boost a little bit. Microstructure, I'm going to push that up a little bit. Now you don't want it to be like so sharp and detailed that it makes your eyes bleed, but I do really like, especially an image like this with the stained glass and all that woodworking and stuff, I want that to be kind of sticking out. So I want to, at least for my image, you could process it differently for your own taste. I want it to be more highly detailed. So I'm going to jump down here to HDR Details Boost, and I'm going to do this minimally too. I don't want to go too crazy. But I'm going to bring maybe that up to 11, that up to 5-ish. See how that looks? Okay. And I don't know if I want to do large. All right, for the sake of argument, let's say that's good. All right. Now, I really like the detail all through here on the stained glass. It looks nice. I like it. But did you notice something when I was turning up the HDR Structure and the HDR Details Boost? If you look at the wall right here and over here, it looks like maybe at one time these windows were leaking or something, and they did some work on the wall, and it kind of brought out every little flaw on that wall, and it doesn't look that great. So I need to smooth that out. But I don't want to lose all the detail I just created or captured over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another layer on top of this layer. And then on that top layer, we're going to do our smoothing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here where it says layers, and to the right, you can see there's a plus sign. Click on that. You can see there's a number of different types of layers you could use. We're going to use the first one, add a new adjustment layer, because we're going to do adjustments to the layer. Now, the other choices, I am going to be having an ongoing series on YouTube called Aurora HDR 2018 Tips and Tricks. And in that video series, in every episode, I'll do another little tip or trick, and those videos will be a lot shorter, hopefully, than this series. And I'll do these other things, like we'll do a video where I add a new image layer, or add original image layer, or add a bracketed layer, and explain what that does. But for the sake of this video series, we just really need to do this, add a new adjustment layer. So I have that layer there. Now, nothing changed. The image still looks identical. I'm going to go up here where it says layer 1. I'm going to double click on that, and I'm going to give this layer a name just so I remember what I did here. And I'm going to just call it smoothing and hit enter. Now, this helps if you have a number of layers and you did one layer with smoothing, another layer with maybe detail, another layer with color adjustments, and things like that. That helps to name the layer. Now, what I want to do is I want to smooth this out. So I'm going to go down to first HDR Structure, and I'm going to take that down. And you can see it immediately smoothed it out, but it smoothed everything. All right, did you see how it's smoothing everything? I still want to keep this detail that I worked so hard to get. Well, now what we're going to do is we're just going to add a mask to it so that this layer only smooths here and over here. Now, to do that is super simple. Those of you that have tried to add layer masks in Photoshop probably know that it's kind of frustrating. It's kind of counterintuitive sometimes. Super easy with this. What you need to do is go over here on your layer, or smoothing layer, and there's a little brush. Click on that brush, and you can see that there's 4 tools: brush, radial mask, gradient mask, and luminosity. Now, again, in that new video series that I'll be hatching called Aurora HDR 2018 Tips and Tricks, we'll cover a lot of these other tools, but for this video, we're just going to use the brush. Now you can see that we have a brush tool, and up here at the top, we have some brush attributes. We could either paint in the effect, or paint in the filters, or erase the filters. We obviously want to paint in the filter. Then right here, if you click here, we have some brush settings: size, softness, opacity, and also if you're using like a Wacom tablet, pen pressure, radius, and opacity. Now, you also could access the size, softness, and opacity over here. There's size. Right now we're at 100, and you could just click on this, and this slider opens up, and you could affect the size of the brush. You also could just go over the word size, and you can see how your cursor turns into this line with an arrow going each way. That's called a scrubby slider. If you just get that scrubby slider to show up by going over the name and then clicking with your left mouse button and dragging to the right, you'll make the brush bigger. To the left, you'll make the brush smaller. Tell you the truth, that's the way I often do it. Same thing with softness. You could click on it and use the slider, or you could create the scrubby slider by clicking on the actual name and affecting the softness, and the same thing with opacity. Now I'm going to leave softness and opacity at 100. And the size, another way you could change the size is with the bracket keys. Left bracket key makes your brush smaller. Right bracket key makes your brush bigger. Now, remember, this layer really softened everything. And what you need to do is keep paint on. So we're going to add it. And watch, as soon as I click my left mouse button once over here, like that, you can see how it added the mask. And we have this noise, or not noise, but we have this like bad drywall work over here. And it really brought us back to that bottom layer. So I have all my detail back. Now all I need to do is take this brush and brush in here. And you could see now we're removing the mask from this area so that we could have that smooth wall up there. But we're not affecting anything else. Just right here. And you can see it didn't affect over here, so I need to paint over there. Paint over there. Now, if you want to see where you're painting, if you go over here, you can see it says mask. Right next to that's a little eyeball. Click on that, and you can see the red shows you where you're painting, and that could help you paint. And if you made a mistake like I just did, you can see I kind of went up. You know, I'm going really fast now. Obviously, I trust you guys would be much more careful. You could go to the erase right here, and then get a smaller brush, and you could erase the effect from where you don't want it, like that. You could also go to paint. A faster way, if you don't want to keep going up here and hitting paint, erase, is while we're on the paint, let's say, if I want to erase, hold that Alt or Option key in, Alt if you have a PC, Option if you have a Mac, and you'll go to the other brush automatically. So you could erase by just holding that Alt or Option key and then let go of the Alt or Option. You can come back in here and paint again. Another little tip, if you need to paint a straight line, click once at one end of where the straight line begins, let's say. Go to the other end where you want it to end, hold the Shift key in, and click again, and you'll paint a perfectly straight line. So you could do that, let's say here. Click once, hold the Shift key in, and click again, and you'll paint a perfectly straight line. So there's a couple tips on how to use the brush. When you're done with the mask, just click on that little eyeball and it's off. There's also some mask attributes that we'll get in on that other series that I talked about, that Aurora HDR 2018 tips and tricks. So there is, maybe I want to do it here though too, actually. There seems to be a little bit of bad drywall work right in here, and the perfectionist in me won't let it go. So let's get rid of it very quickly right there. Okay. For the sake of this video, that's good enough. Now, I'm going to turn this whole layer off so you could see what we did. Over here, there's a little eyeball. Click on that, and it turns the layer off, and you could see with the layer off, we have that rough-looking drywall. Turn the layer back on, and that rough-looking drywall is gone, but we didn't do anything else to the image. You could see the rest of the image has all the adjustments we used in my preset that we put on that bottom layer, plus what I did on top of that. I brought the color temperature a little cooler, and I added a little bit of HDR structure and HDR details. Now, I want to add a vignette, as I typically do to finish off the image. You got to be careful what layer you're doing things on. This top layer called smoothing, I have a mask, and you can see the mask right there. If I go down here and I add a vignette to this layer, I'll just put it on real strong. You can see it's just going on right there. It's not going on the entire image. It's just where I have that layer masked in. And that will be like that for any of these filters. It'll only affect that area that we have the mask on. So you just got to make sure that if you want an adjustment to affect the entire image, you have to go on that bottom layer. Then we'll go over here to our vignette. And just to show, I'll put it on real strong. You can see how it's affecting everything. Now I just want, as you guys know by now, I just like those kind of very slight vignettes. And I got to turn this top layer back on. There we go. And there is our completed image. Done. Very easy. That's what I usually do, and most people I do use a preset. See if there's a preset that gets you close to what you want. then do some adjustments that you want to do to help bring the image out to your own, to make it yours. So that's it for lesson 3. In lesson 4, we're going to process a single image in Aurora HDR 2018. And I got to confess, when I use HDR or Aurora HDR 2018, I'd say half the time I'm sending a single image. It does such a cool job on a single image, and you'll be amazed. Thank you, everyone that watches my videos. I truly do appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys soon.